John Kerry to 112. Everyone thought going into this election night that the two candidates were at about 222 for the president and about 207 for John Kerry. Missouri is too close to call. As you can see, 12% of the vote has been counted there. Also too close to call. New Hampshire, a critical state for the Bush campaign. 1/4 of the vote has been counted. Just a handful of votes between them. In Florida, 55% of the vote has been counted thus far. Almost 300,000 votes between them. But again, we remind you, that depends on where those votes are coming in from. In the state of Ohio, they're just beginning to get their count underway. 38,000 votes between them, 10% of the vote in. Cuyahoga County in the north will be the key for John Kerry, and down south in the southeast and southwest, that will be the key for President Bush. Let's go to NBC's Ron Allen now, who is out there in Ohio. Ron?
Good evening, Tom. Yes, we're in Cuyahoga County in Cleveland, and behind me you can see they're starting to count ballots the old-fashioned way, paper ballots. This Ohio, as I understand it, of all the swing states, has the largest percentage of paper punch card ballots, about 70%. The returns have been trickling in. So far, about 56,000 votes for John Kerry, about 31,000 for President Bush. But as you pointed out, this is a county where the Democrats hope to run up a lot of votes. In 2000, President Bush won 72 of the 88 counties in Ohio. He didn't win here, but he still won the state, which gives you an idea of the imbalance between Democrats and Republicans throughout the state. Turnout here is expected to be very high. The chairman of the Board of Elections earlier said that he thought it could reach 70%. There were long lines throughout the day despite the rain here. Again, the returns are trickling in. The other big issue here has, of course, been these challengers, poll monitors inside the polling places. Despite all the concerns leading up to the election, all the reports that we have heard here suggest it has been very smooth. There have been no problems. There was one incident where a Republican challenger was asked to leave a polling place, but for the most part, there have been none of the confrontations that were feared. Things going smoothly, turnout very high, and it looks like it's going to be a very, very late night here. Tom?
All right, thanks very much, NBC's Ron Allen. You know, a moment ago, Tim, I was tempted to say that the President of the United States probably has already been elected. We just don't know it yet. But in fact, with Iowa and Nevada still outstanding, there are some big what-ifs out there with this checkerboard that we're playing on.
Tom, it's amazing. You know, we've talked repeatedly about 270 votes needed in order to be elected President of the United States. George Bush, if he won all the states he won in 2000, would have 278. Let's just assume that John Kerry successfully picks off Ohio and New Hampshire. That would bring President Bush down to 254. Where does he find those remaining 16? This is what the campaigns are telling me. They say easy. We'll take Pennsylvania. That's 21. Or we'll take Wisconsin and Minnesota together. That'll give us 20. Or we can take Minnesota and Iowa, 17. That gets us there. The two best states for Bush, they think, is Iowa and New Mexico. That's 7 and 5. That doesn't get him there. But what we know about John Kerry is this number includes Bush winning Florida. If you take away the 20 in Ohio, that puts George Bush up to 274, even giving John Kerry New Hampshire. John Kerry must win either Ohio or Florida, or it's very hard to get him to 270.
All right, Tim Russert doing his magic math once again. This year electronically. Let's go to NBC's David Gregory and hear what they're saying at the White House at this hour. David?
Well, Tom, just moments ago, the president summoned the travel pool, the small group of reporters, up to the residence. Quite unusual to get a visit up into the residence because he wants to talk to the cameras. He wants to talk to the American people. Remember, 4 years ago, the president did this at a similar moment of the evening over to the governor's mansion in Texas. His family was there. His parents were there. He wanted to encourage people to keep getting out there and vote, not to believe that the election is over one way or the other. This tracks quite exactly with the ground game operation they've got going right now. They have been talking to volunteers in swing states to tell them to keep people energized, to keep people going to the polls. This becomes more important as you move across the time zones. Remember, some of those big swing states, Gore states from 2000 that they have their eye on, like New Mexico, that they think that they've got a real good shot with. Now he only lost by 366 votes. So, again, the president is going to call the travel pool up. We expect that he may even be taking some questions at the moment. And at the same time, getting some information out of Ohio. They feel like Florida, they are starting to track in a much better direction. In Columbus, in Franklin County, a senior advisor told me that they are outperforming by 4 points where they were in 2000. A small sign in still a dead even race. Tom, we'll let you know when we get more from the president.
All right, thanks very much, NBC. David Gregory. We're getting into tricky territory there with the president speaking from the family quarters to the television cameras when polls are still open in the states of Iowa, Nevada. Those are two key states in this election. Out west, Hawaii is in play. These are states that could make a difference for the president, and he obviously wants to encourage his voters to get out there. Let's go to NBC's Kelly O'Donnell now, who's covering the Kerry campaign up in Massachusetts, and the number 2 man on the ticket has arrived to join Senator Kerry and Teresa Heinz Kerry. Kelly?
Yes, Tom. John Edwards just arrived moments ago here in Boston, direct from Florida. And senior advisors, when I asked them just a short time ago, what are you feeling? What's the state of things? And their answer is simply 2 words, Ohio and Florida. So John Edwards coming from Florida is important. His wife, Elizabeth, claims Florida as her home state. She has family there. They've tried to leverage that throughout the campaign. They have worked it hard. Edwards was there in multiple markets today, visiting. Senator Kerry was there just a short time ago, emphasizing Florida. On the Ohio side, Senator Kerry was in Ohio at midnight early this morning in Toledo, and he did, as at every Ohio stop, he takes a Buckeye out of his pocket, one that was given to him by a child along the campaign trail, telling Ohio voters, I want this Ohio Buckeye, the symbol of the state, in the White House, in the Oval Office, trying to make that local connection as best he can. Senator Edwards will be joining Senator Kerry here. Carole King is playing in the background. If you're hearing some music here, she's been an advocate for the campaign all along. Senator Kerry is at his residence with Mary Beth Cahill, his campaign manager, Bob Schrum, the longtime media strategist, political message man, well-known in the Boston community. They are together along with Senator Kerry's family. His brother Cameron, his sister Peggy have been with him, his daughter's family extended, and so forth. The plan for tonight is still unfolding. We don't know what time they will make any comments, things like that, still in the works. But the 2 men will come back together now. Vice presidential nominee John Edwards and Senator Kerry. They have not been on the trail together in quite some time. That was a decision trying to make the most of all of the principles. Even Teresa Heinz Kerry had not been campaigning with her husband very much lately. She cast her vote in Pennsylvania today, always registered in Pennsylvania. She had never voted for her husband, John Kerry, before until today. The weight of her own personal popularity in Pennsylvania is something that this campaign has been counting on. They need Pennsylvania, they need Ohio, they need Florida, and they've tried to execute very personalized strategies in each of those places to try to do what they can to close the gap on the president.
All right, thanks very much, NBC's Kelly O'Donnell. One of the senator's aides has described him as one of the most competitive people he's ever known. So we'll see what the senator says if he sees President Bush going on television before the polls close in some of these key states, whether he'll appear or not. We'll be back with more Democracy Plaza, Decision 2004, right after this. Earlier in this campaign, about 2 weeks ago, we started talking about the trifecta in the eastern seaboard, the states of Florida, Pennsylvania, and Ohio. No one tonight has been able to cash a ticket in any of those states, and that's why the election results remain outstanding. 84% of the vote has been counted in the state of Florida. As you can see, George W. Bush is still in advance. That's a very significant number, 64%, about 2/3, not 84%. That would be a big difference, obviously. But George Bush holding a lead there. In the state of Pennsylvania, where John Kerry had high hopes that he would win, almost 20% of the vote has been counted thus far, and John Kerry is trending very heavily now, but we don't know where that vote is coming from. We're still not able to make a projection based on the models that we have. And in Ohio, 15% of the vote has been counted. The difference between them, 46,000 votes, too close to call. It's northern Ohio against southern Ohio. And we're joined now by Bob Taft, who is the Republican governor, a member of that distinguished Republican family in the state of Ohio. Governor, how long do you think it'll be before we'll be able to have a sense of what your state has decided today?
I think it's going to be pretty late tonight, Tom. You know, we had long lines at the polls. A number of people were voting well after 7:30, so I think it's going to be a very late night here in Ohio and probably a very close race.
Have you?